Hi, it's GrantCameron. I just want to do a little bit of an update on the Atacama being and my small role in investigating this. I knew about this being for, I guess, a year and a half or since this thing started. And like many things in ufology, we have a number of lectures that I will put up when we've got them. We've got some inside people who are involved in this being in Spain, and some stories that people haven't heard as to other beings that might actually exist that have the same four sort of parts of the head rather than six, these sort of, whatever they call them, these plates inside the head. So we'll do that kind of stuff. But in terms of the being, Gary Nolan was involved, and I've had indirect contact with Gary Nolan. And as people know, they have suddenly reversed the story. In the serious documentary. It looked like they were going to confirm that this had some sort of alien DNA or whatever. And then the paper came out with a number of different scientists and said, no, this is human, and there's these 7 very rare genetic mutations that all occurred at the same time. So I started to follow the story, and my role is very limited, but the important part that was to me was not so much the being, because what I say in terms of data, that if you look at the reports that the To the Stars is putting out, you just have reports. There are theoretical papers on space travel and stuff like that. It really doesn't get you that far. The videos, you can look at the video over and over again. It's really not going to tell you what's going on. And even now with the being, if you have the being, you can always say it's going to be genetic mutation. As I sort of made a joke, you can have a little green being with antenna, and you can say, well, that's genetic mutation. There was a, the gene from the tree that made it turn green, and the antenna gene from insects popped out, so you can never really go anywhere. But the interesting thing was, Stephen Greer put out a video, which I thought was actually very good, where he's actually dealt with children, delivered whatever 250 kids or whatever, that their bones are very pliable. I didn't realize this, that you don't get really hard bone structure until you've been in the gravity, until you've walked around and stuff, and that this had very hard bone structure, and this top person who's able to tell structure of people said it was, as the impression was, 6 to 8 year old and stuff like that. So there's that controversy, but that really didn't go anywhere. The question that I asked to the 2 scientists, or 2 of the scientists on the paper, I said to them, okay, you're saying it's not, you're saying it's human and it's not alien. And my question is, how do you know it's alien? How could you possibly know? And so what I'm saying, the important part of that whole story to me, was it sort of points out a very false assumption that we make in science. And that is that we are going to be different than aliens. So it's the idea that because we had genetic mutation created human beings, and it was all random chance, and it took 4 billion years for us to develop, that you had somebody in a room rolling dice for 4 billion years with these genetic mutations, and we arrived. And you can't argue it, because the skeptics will say, no, it happened, get used to it. But if you suddenly get another being who has the same structure, basically the same DNA, then it says that you had somebody else in a second room rolling dice for 4 billion years, and the same genetic mutations occurred over 4 billion years. That is the big problem. That's where I said to them, how do you know what DNA is in an alien? Is it 0? Are we going to be completely different than aliens? Or is it going to be 100%? Because they were saying, well, this is, 90, one story, rumored story was 82. And then they changed it to 92. Then they changed it to 99. It doesn't really matter. The question is, if aliens are breeding with us, and most people will sort of assume or confirm that, yeah, there does seem to be some sort of alien breeding program with us. You can't breed with a chimpanzee, but we appear to be breeding with aliens, which would tend to indicate a unique part of reality, and that is that it's pattern. It's not random. That if these beings are interacting with us, then it could be 100% human DNA and still be an alien. And that was the whole point that I wanted to bring up. And one of the people that I wrote from this paper said they were willing to talk to me at length about their speculation of what DNA of an alien would look like. But I didn't go down that because, again, it's just speculation. We're just guessing when it comes to that whole idea. But I think it's very important the whole Atacama being thing, or even the other aliens that have come up, the idea that we can determine this is alien and that's not, is making the assumption that anything that's out there is not going to look like us, and that the chances of this happening a second time, of beings through all these genetic mutations coming up, is none. Whereas the actual Atacama debate seems to show that it's pattern. That if there are stars in this part of the galaxy, and you're going to have a sun in that part of the galaxy, it's going to be made of the same stuff. It's going to obey the same laws. It's going to obey the laws of gravity, and it's going to be made of the same stuff. You're going to have planets, and we're starting to discover this, that every star seems to have planets. It's a pattern. It's following the pattern. And so what I think the sort of the ultimate lesson, or the challenge I have of the Atacama being, is just the theoretical idea. What does alien DNA look like? I'm going to say that DNA is going to be throughout the universe. It's going to be a structured type of thing, because it has these chicken-egg things inside the DNA where you need one to create the other. You need the RNA to create the DNA, and the DNA to create the RNA, and they could not have evolved separately, because both require the other. So it raises this very important issue of, are we a part of a pattern? And if we are part of a pattern, then there's really nothing different in that part of the solar system. We are not unique. We are not the center of the universe. We're going back to the ego thing of saying we're different, and even Carl Sagan said that. To say that they're going to look like us is egotistical. It's exactly the opposite. To say that we are unique and that nobody looks like us, that we are special in the universe, and we're the only ones that have DNA, and nobody else's DNA is going to look like us, that is egotistical. It's bringing us back to the pre-Copernican worldview that we are the center of the universe. We are no different than any other part of the universe. And that's the ultimate lesson of the Atacama being, is to go and to start looking at what is alien DNA, and the fact that we may all be seeded, that we may all be hybrids, we may all be part of this. So to put out a paper and say, this is not alien, you can say it's got human DNA, I'll agree with that, but you cannot say it's not alien. We have no idea what alien DNA looks like, or whether aliens have DNA. I would assume that it's no different than here. DNA is part of the universe. Thanks.